June 22, 2025, Damascus, Syria. 350 Christians had gathered for Sunday prayers with their families inside their church in the presence of their God. Then a man walked in. He had a rifle. He opened fire, and then he detonated his explosive vest. At least 30 people were killed. 54 were wounded. It was the largest attack against Syria's Christian community since 1860. This is the story of what happened to Syria's Christians after the world stopped watching. December 2024. After 50 years of iron-fisted rule, the Assad regime collapsed overnight. Syrians danced in the streets. The world celebrated. But for the country's Christian minority, the celebrations were cautious. The group that took control was Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, known as HTS, an Islamic extremist organization with roots in Al-Qaeda. Their leader, Ahmed al-Shara, became Syria's interim president. He repeatedly promised to protect minorities and build an inclusive state for Syrians of all backgrounds and religions. Christians held their breath. Some believed him. Some didn't. And then came the Constitution. In March 2025, Syria unveiled its interim constitution, a document intended to guide the country for the next 5 years until elections planned for 2030. 2 lines inside it sent shockwaves through every Christian community in Syria. The first line read, "The religion of the President of the Republic is Islam." The second line read, "Islamic jurisprudence is the principal source of legislation." Under Assad, Islamic law was simply one of several sources in the legal system. Now it became the dominant framework for Syria's entire future. Of the 7 people appointed to draft this constitution, only 1 came from a religious minority. The rest were Sunni Muslims, several with close personal ties to al-Shara himself. And in schools, the changes were already underway. Syria's new curriculum began removing pre-Islamic history from textbooks. Gender equality content was eliminated. Quranic verses that negatively reference Jews and Christians were added, fueling hostility in classrooms across the country. One priest said it plainly, "If Sharia law is implemented, Christians will be immediately discriminated against." These were not the words of a radical. These were the quiet fears of a man watching his community disappear, slowly, legally, and in plain sight. Then came June 22, 2025. During Sunday prayers at the Greek Orthodox Church of Mar Elias in Damascus, a terrorist opened fire on more than 350 worshippers, then detonated his explosive vest, killing at least 25 people and injuring over 60 others, including Christian religious leaders and children. Responsibility was claimed by a group called Syria Ansar al-Sunnah, an extremist organization formed shortly after the fall of the Assad regime. Their justification for the massacre? They called it punishment. The Pope himself responded to the attack, saying, "There is no justification, religious, moral, or rational, for the slaughter of innocents, least of all in a sacred space." 26 Christian civilians lost their lives that day. Women, children, entire families gone in a single Sunday morning. And the new Syrian government's response to all of this? It was described by independent investigators as limited, both symbolically and procedurally. The message to Syria's Christians was clear, whether intended or not. You are on your own. So here is the honest answer to the question everyone is asking. After Assad, are Syria's Christians better off or worse? The answer is both, and that is what makes it so dangerous. In some regions, particularly Christian villages in the north, locals describe varying degrees of freedom depending entirely on which armed group controls their area. But at the national level, the picture is far darker. Armed attacks against minorities took place in March and July of 2025. Hundreds of Alawite and Druze women were abducted and sexually assaulted. Christians suffered casualties too. Persecution watchdog organizations spent all of 2025 reporting deteriorating conditions for minorities across Syria. And the fear is not just physical, it is cultural. Misinformation spreading across Syrian social media about incoming Sharia policies has caused mass anxiety, driving families to consider leaving the country entirely. One Syrian Christian doctor put it this way: "I saw what ISIS did to Christians in Iraq, and so I make an assumption given Shara's background and the lack of implementation of his promises." Syria's Christians have survived Roman persecution. They survived the Crusades. They survived centuries of Ottoman rule. They survived a 13-year civil war. But today, they face something different, not just bombs and bullets, a constitution that sidelines them, a curriculum that erases them, and a government that promised to protect them, but so far has shown it cannot. The new constitution refers only to protecting the three so-called heavenly religions, and analysts have already noted that even this protection remains vague and unenforceable. The Mar Elias Church bombing was not an isolated incident. It was a warning. The question now is not whether Syria's Christians are better off or worse than Assad. The question is, will they still be there in 10 years? If this story matters to you, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe for more stories the world is choosing to ignore.